He taped up my wrists and my ankles and led me to the edge of the roof, where all that was keeping me from falling was the rope pulling my neck. Now let me tell you how I got here. I decided to try online dating again. First there was Freaky Foot Guy, and then there was Leonard Skinner Hot Tub Guy, and then there was Unforgettable Guy. So we agreed to go to dinner, and when I got there, he had ordered appetizers, and he had a drink waiting for me, and everything was going great so far. And then we started having the conversation. Where'd you grow up? What do you do? It came out we were both engineers, and I used to be a country singer-songwriter in Nashville. That's a pretty unique combination, right? So he was a nice guy, and it went fine, but there weren't any sparks, so it just kind of fizzled out. Then the next year, the same guy messages me on a dating app, and he says, I saw you in a picture on Facebook with a friend of mine. Would you please go out with me? And I was like, well, I mean, it didn't work out before, but I mean, he's trying hard. I'll give it a shot. So we go out to dinner, and he's gazing at me across the table, and he starts asking me the first date questions. And that's a little annoying because we already covered this, right? And so he says, where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? And I looked at him, and I realized he doesn't remember me. Really? And then he asked, so what do you do? And I said, I'm an engineer, and I used to be a country singer-songwriter in Nashville. And I'm looking at him. Does he remember now? He still didn't remember me. So then he leans in across the table and he says, you are so unforgettable. You know, it's pretty hilarious. And also, deep down, it hurt because being forgotten was an old childhood wound. Like most people, my dysfunctional childhood left me feeling not good enough. And psychologists say childhood trauma can lead to people feeling less than and having anxiety disorders. It can also lead to imposter syndrome. You know, I'd always thought imposter syndrome was feeling a little intimidated about getting up in front of people and get a little courage and push through it and you're fine. I didn't realize how devastating it could actually be. So, at that point, it became a whole thing. I wanted to really address that imposter syndrome I was feeling. And the good news is you can have imposter syndrome and be successful. Some examples include Tom Hanks, Maya Angelou, and even Albert Einstein. The worst news is, according to an article in Harvard Business Review, unresolved issues from our past can negatively affect how we lead as adults. So flash forward to my career in the Army. So I didn't know I had imposter syndrome, but I had a lot of the classic symptoms. I was a workaholic, I was a perfectionist, and I had a lot of anxiety about doing my job well. I was an executive leader, and I traveled frequently to the Pentagon to brief senior leaders. So that's a lot of stress for a perfectionist, I'm just saying. So then life started happening. My grandfather, who raised me like his own, he died in a really horrible way. And I developed heart palpitations, and I ended up in a cardiologist's office. Luckily, it wasn't a heart attack, but that's how badly anxiety was affecting my body. And then I got the call. My boss had cancer and would be out of the office for 6 months. So now I'm doing her job and my job, and there's no way I'm saying it's too much because people were depending on me. And then one morning, standing in the shower, shampooing my hair, I feel something weird in my hand. And I'm staring at a huge clump of hair tangled around my fingers. And I just went numb. All my worrying and trying to be so perfect wasn't working. In fact, it was making it worse, and something had to change. And after that, everything was different. I started working with a therapist she helped me see I had imposter syndrome. But the problem is you don't recognize it at first. And so I got offered this big opportunity. And I was like, I don't know if I got what it takes to take this. So I went to a colleague of mine and I asked him, do you think I can do this? And if he said yes, I was going to take it. And of course he said yes, right? And then I was leaving his office and I thought, wait a minute. I just put this huge career decision in his hands. Why do I have to hear this from somebody else? Why can't I do this for myself? And that shift changed everything. Did you know between 70 to 82% of people have felt imposter syndrome, like they're a fraud and people are going to expose them, or they felt like success because they were lucky and not because of their efforts? So I went from that to studying more about imposter syndrome. I learned that imposter syndrome can result in avoiding risk because of fear of failure. So I challenged myself to take the biggest risk of my life, and I went to the stratosphere in Vegas. And I took that elevator up 108 stories. And I'm not scared of heights, but 108 stories is a lot of stories, I'm just saying. So I got in line to jump off the top of a perfectly safe building. What was wrong with me? So I'm standing in line and I'm starting to get a little nervous, thinking about backing out. And I felt this little hand touching my leg as a little girl's voice said, "Are you really going to jump?" Well, now I can't back out. I can't be the reason she believes girls are scaredy cats. I got to do this thing. So I walk over to the guy. He has me step into a special suit, and he tapes up my wrists and my ankles, and he leads me to the edge of the roof. And he puts a metal hook behind my neck on my suit, and it jerks me forward. Now I have to look down 108 stories. Now I am scared, but I can't back out, so I jump. And y'all, I scream all the way down. And I'm looking at the ground, and there's this bullseye painted on the ground, and it's getting bigger and bigger as I fall faster and faster. And right when I think I'm about to hit, it slows down and sets me down as light as a feather. And then I thought, I'm so proud of myself for doing this. What else have I missed by not taking risks? So I started taking risks at work, and I became associate director of 150 rocket scientists developing the most advanced military technology in the world. And then I took risks and went to Ethiopia and supported nonprofit work building wells for small villages. And that was a big deal because before that, my idea of roughing it was going somewhere I couldn't plug in the hairdryer. I'm just saying. And then I took the biggest risk of my career. I left my cushy management job to become a motivational speaker, helping others develop their leadership skills. So I gave a workshop once, and these two ladies gave me LinkedIn recommendations. And the cool thing about that is LinkedIn updates their title on that recommendation every time they get promoted. And I cheer for them every single time I moved up because it is so awesome to watch people grow and have the impact they want to have on the world. And I want you to have that opportunity. So for the 20 to 30% of you who do not have imposter syndrome, you might be tempted to think this doesn't apply to you, but that would be a mistake because you may not have it, but up to 80% of your people could have it. And by helping them learn to maneuver through it, your team will have increased stability and increased productivity. Now, if you do have it, it is important to realize a big part of leadership is remaining outwardly calm and confident no matter what's happening inside. So picture this. You're on a ship in the middle of a huge storm. Do you want to follow the captain quivering in the corner? Or do you want to follow the captain who is commanding the ship to the end? That's why it's important to diagnose your imposter syndrome and come up with a plan to manage it. But it's critical. If you have imposter syndrome and you're experiencing physical symptoms, panic attacks, anything distressing your body, I really recommend you see a licensed therapist like I did. And along with that, there are 5 ways to help manage your imposter syndrome. First, diagnose it. Are you anxious about standing up in front of people and sharing your ideas? Does your stomach flip when you see an email come in from your boss? And do you sit in meetings and stay silent because you think everybody else is smarter than you are? If any of those apply to you, there's a strong chance you've got it. This number 2 tool, talk to a trusted friend. Tell them your thoughts about failing. Have them talk it through with you and see if they're realistic. Third, create a winning file. Capture those moments where you successfully push through that fear and resistance, and you can come back and remind yourself you can deal with this. Helps build your confidence. Fourth, journal 10 minutes a day. Studies show that journaling helps with clarity and it helps you generate solutions. So that can help you find ways to maneuver through that. And lastly, set yourself up for micro wins. So by putting yourself with baby steps into more challenging situations, you can build that confidence so you can take on bigger and bigger challenges. I was able to see micro wins in action. I had a corporate client who found me online and they hired me to do their annual leadership conference. And I asked them, okay, if you're on the elevator and your CEO gets on there with you and asks you, what do you do for me? What are you going to say? And then I said, now go to the room and tell us what you would say. And judging by the groans that I heard, most of them were very uncomfortable speaking in public. But we talked about the good it can do to be prepared. And so they got up, they played along, and they gave their pitch. Then the next year, they invited me back, and I put them through that same exercise. I'm sure they were still uncomfortable, but you could not tell. They were poised and confidently gave that pitch. They embraced pushing them through that belief that they were not good at public speaking and became more confident leaders. And I know if you work with a therapist, if that's the level of support you need, and you use the tools to build your confidence, you can become a great leader too, even with imposter syndrome. Now, I want to leave you with this thought. The real scammers, the real shysters, the real con artists, they do not have imposter syndrome. If you do, it's a strong sign you are not one. And in the words of Trey Bodge, in those moments where you feel unhappy or stuck, remind yourself you are powerful. And small strategic moves can result in big shifts for the better.